My name's Simon Starling and I'm an artist, and this is a work of mine, Infestation Piece, Musseled Moore. Henry Moore was the sort of standard issue, sort of government endorsed British sculptor, you know, through my childhood. There was a fascination there for what he achieved, and then when I started to travel as an artist, this sense of Henry Moore being everywhere, this kind of omnipresent artist globally, having always kind of got there first. And I started, in a way, I suppose what I was doing is using his work as a sort of way of navigating the world in some way. So when I got to Toronto, of course, I sort of hot-footed it to the AGO because I knew about the collection and here and his kind of involvement with the city. And then that sort of started to resonate in relation to this sort of invasion of zebra mussels from the Black Sea. And of course there was this nice connection to the Cold War with Anthony Blunt, you know, Anthony Blunt being this incredibly established art historian in London who the AGO sort of commissioned to advise them on British art. And then he, of course, it was revealed in the 70s that he'd been working for the Russians as a spy. So I sort of started to devise this plan for this strange creature. We got permission to make this sort of sculpture based on, I think they say, I have to say, based on the warrior with shield, which was itself a sculpture that evolved, it seems, from a pebble that Moore found on an English beach, a piece of flint, which reminded him of a torso with a sort of truncated leg, truncated limb. And so, yeah, it seemed very natural to throw this thing back in the water, to put it back in the Great Lakes. And it became a kind of home for this sort of voracious colony of zebra mussels, this introduced species from Russia, essentially. We cast the sculpture in steel, lowered him into Lake Ontario, and then every, 6 months or so, sent a diver down with a little camera on his head to sort of survey the progress of our colony of mussels. And then eventually, one day the diver came up and, you know, there was something there, and it happened very fast in the end. So after 18 months, we were able to pull him up and then dry him out, which was a incredibly smelly process, I think. They sort of put him in a shipping container and shut the doors and then turned the heat up. And then, and then he was presented sort of in one of the galleries initially at the power plant overlooking the lake where he'd come from. I mean, I suppose one of the things I have been doing sort of systematically over the years is trying to sort of redeploy objects from the past to think about the present in a way, you know, to take the Moore sculpture which arrived here in the 1950s and then to sort of reactivate it in relation to this sort of contemporary story about zebra mussels and the sort of rapidly changing sort of ecosystem of the Great Lakes. And so it's a kind of collision of the past and the present, and something new gets generated in that collision.